Good afternoon and welcome to On the Spot Motorsports Media. I'm your host, Mitchell Gunter, along with Robert Simpson. And I'll tell you, Robert, we got a great guest coming on tonight. Keith Turk. We're going to talk about racing on the salt flats. We're going to talk about all, classifications of the cars, what all the hats represent. We're going to also dive into drag racing a little bit, talk about his role as event director for Hot Rod Magazine and Sick the Mag. And of course, they just got finished just this past week with Sick Summer. So we're going to try to dive in a little bit of that with Mr. Turk. But before we get started, hey, we got a couple of commercials and we'll be right back.
Reliability to drive thousands of miles. Confidence for those who fly high. Redline oil products give you the power to crush the competition. And a track record of being the best. Redline oil products. You push it to the limit, we'll protect it.
Ready to take your engine to the next level? Scorpion Racing Products delivers precision-engineered, high-performance rocker arms that dominate the track. 100% CNC machined in the USA with aerospace-grade aluminum for unmatched strength and durability. Our rocker arms handle extreme conditions with multiple ratios available to fit your needs. Backed by our exclusive lifetime warranty. When performance matters, choose Scorpion Racing Products. Proven, reliable, unstoppable.
Good afternoon, Keith. I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon, and so we can talk a little bit about racing on the salt flats. You know, a lot of people don't understand that's where drag racing came along with Wally Parks to create what we do now in NHRA.
He did. That's exactly right. 1949, he went to the salt flats and started that, and then after that, he started drag racing half mile, and then traditionally, and then quarter mile.
Yeah, no, I think. Yeah, and one of the things that he concentrated on from the things that he learned on the salt flats, he transferred over to the NHRA, and his main goal was safety of the racers and the spectators around it.
And that's true. The other thing that's kind of happened, I know we're going to talk about drag and drive events like the Hot Rod Magazine's Drag Week and Sick the Mag's Sick Week, Sick Summers, Sick the Rock, Sick the Green, whatever. All of the events have been based on that original foundation, and if you pay attention to it, it's all of the cars have developed from that original foundation.
Right. Now, to get in and start talking a little bit about your background, you've raced on the salt flats. So we kind of want to get a little bit of history of how you got started in that and talk a little bit about the things that you accomplished over the years. And also, you've actually had other people jump in your cars and drive them as well. Say, for instance, Alex Taylor.
Yeah. I basically, in 98, the first recommendation that I have for anybody that asks me about Bonneville is the first thing you need was go there as a spectator. Same with drag racing. If you've never been to a drag race, don't go build a car and then expect the rules to fit it. Go to a drag race or two, look at the cars, see which ones interest you, figure out where your toolbox meets that set of rules, and then enter that. But I went in 98 with the intention of building a modified sports car. And I've always had an Austin Healey all of my life, and since I was 20 years old. And Donald Healey is the 18th member of the 2 Club. In 1956, he went 203 miles an hour. So I've always been fascinated by it. But as a pilot in the military, it's really hard to get time off to do this. So I retired in 96, built a business. And in 98, a friend of mine was paralyzed, and I realized that it's now or never. So literally got on an airplane, flew to Vegas, and got a rental car and drove to the Salt Flats for the 50th running. And while I was there, one of my buddies from the East Coast Timing Association said, "Hey, you you need to buy my Camaro. And I'm like, yeah, no. It was a piece of crap. I'm like, I don't want that car. He said, $800. I said, okay, I own a Camaro. So bought the car in 98 and started racing it really hard, kind of with a partner and a friend for the first 4 years and 3 years. And then morphed into Freiberger came along. I built a modified sports car and decided that Freiberger and I could go racing together. And we kind of put that deal together. And it was a lot like anybody else. David really wanted to go racing at Bonneville. He knew a lot about Bonneville. Very, very much an historian of the place. So his problem is he didn't have any damn time. So I had time and opportunity. So we built the car together, and he built the engine, and I built the car, and I own the car from the clutch back. All the car and the clutch and everything behind that's mine, and David is responsible for the engine. And that program lasted. Well, still, I mean, we're still partners. We'll still go race together. We may race something else other than the Camaro, but we raced the Camaro so hard that we just ran out of goals. And so I know it sounds stupid, but my wife, David, a bunch of other people have gotten in the 2 Club in the car. So we just literally ran out of goals. So the last thing I really, really wanted to do was take David to El Mirage and get him in the El Mirage 2 Club in the Camaro. And we tried that 3 or 4 times and spun in the 190s. So we finally got him in the 2 Club. And after that, there really wasn't anything else to do with cars. So Alex and Tom Bailey from Sick Mag, who owns Sick Mag, and Dave Schroeder had all indicated an interest in racing the Camaro. And I was like, okay, cool. So I tried to put them together as a team, and the dynamics were kind of a mess. So I said, yeah, let's just take them one at a time. So I took Alex and gave her the car last year, and we went and set a record with Alex, and that's very good. Nice picture of it. Pretty amazing, really. She's such an incredible talent, a wonderful kid. Her sister Megan is absolutely as amazing as she is. So Dennis and Debbie are phenomenal. So it's just a great family atmosphere. It's a great time to go to Bonneville. And I went 235 on a 224 record. So not crazy, but enough to get a hat. So that's kind of a cool deal. Anyway, yeah, so I basically started racing in 99 at Bonneville. And I continuously race till now.
Now, when you Keith, thank you very much for coming on tonight. We almost didn't get hooked up tonight due to a technical difficulty.
Can I tell the story?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Because it's great. So a couple of weeks ago, I get this call from this Robert Cat. He's like, hey, we talked about doing a podcast, and my guest for tonight has fallen out. Would you mind coming on tonight? And I'm like, no, not at all. So he's like, okay. I'd promised I'd send him pictures and all this other crap. I don't know, whatever. So we go on, we do a podcast. It's all fine, fat, dumb, and happy. And then today I'm down in Tampa trading motorcycles with a friend of mine that I buy and sell motorcycles with. And you called me, and I'm like, what are you talking about, Sugar? We just did this. Like
right
2 weeks ago. He's like, no, I don't think so. I think I remember that. I'm like, I don't know. I got nothing. And literally, he thought I was kidding. I was serious as a heart attack because I had just done this. So it's a lot of fun. And I'm really glad to be here.
You had me going. Fun. I mean, I know you were serious, but I thought you were messing with me. But then I heard the buddy that you were having lunch with. You're like going, no, you talked to a guy named Robert from West Palm, and then it clicked. I'm like, oh, he's being serious. Hang on a second. I was like, going, no, it wasn't me.
Well, my memory's so bad. That guy's name could be Keith, and I wouldn't know. But I remember. I'm going to find the podcast. It was pretty fun. But in any case,
it's okay.
So here we are.
I'm sure it's a good one. So what I was saying is, I appreciate you taking the time. You didn't have to do it, and you're like going, nah. You're like, I'll just go back and lean against the wall of the hotel and do it.
Well, and it's really funny because legitimately, you guys are all pasty white. I just got off of Six Summer, which was an amazing event. That's why I look like this and you look like that.
This is tan. This is tan. Okay,
Yeah,
this is what
this
Irish and
burns.
German will get you. This is Irish and German.
Yeah,
This is what will get you.
this is what a week in the Midwest will get you in the dead of summer. It was awesome, great
Oh,
time. So anyway, Freiberger and I got to racing the car together, right, back in 04. And he's got this drag racing thing, and I don't know much about drag racing. I guess two guys get side by side and they go down some street or something, and that's not exactly true, but
right.
it's not my jam. My jam is land speed racing. And David's like, hey, I'm going to do this thing called pump gas drags. I'm like, cool, we'll do that. He said, will you guys come help? We're like, sure. So Tanya and I went up and helped with that for a couple of years. And we were at Bonneville one year. And he had this idea for fermenting. And I don't know. I thought it was the first time he talked about it, because we were talking about all kinds of crazy ideas for races. But he said he had been thinking about it for a while, and he had put it together. And he said, hey, would you guys come and help us? And so we went to help, and we helped for the first drag week, and did that for a couple of years. And David, after a couple of years, and I don't mean to correct you, Mitchell, but after a couple of years, David said, the job I really hate is being a race director. So would you be the race director? And I'm like, don't know anything about drag racing, but sure, why not? And I know about people, and I know about running organizations, and I know about running races. So I owned the East Coast Timing Association for 15 years, and had a lot of fun with that. But seriously, David, I wouldn't be here without him. And then Tom came to us 5 years ago and said, hey, would you guys be interested in helping with Sick Week? And I knew Tom was going to put on a new event, and Drag and Drive was just kind of coming out at that time. Past Drag Week, there was the Rocky Mountain Race Week and the Midwest Drags and so on. And when Tom said he was going to do it, Tom's a really serious guy. And, 5-time winner, 6-time winner at Drag Week. So the guy's a legend at Drag Week. So my answer, of course, was yeah, because I like Tom. It's been fun. So we went and did the first Sick Week, and have been the race director for most of those events as we've gone forward. So all the week long events. Been doing that. I don't know how many years, 21, 22 years of running races. I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. Just every time I know every time I turn around, I see you popping up somewhere. It's like, the East Coast with the Timing Association. I did not know that you owned and ran it. You and your wife ran it for so long. I did not know. I thought when I saw you on videos, I thought you were helping, you know what I mean? Either with a team or something like that, but I did not realize that. And then of course, like you said, hot rod, drag and drive events, and then Sick Week. What hat don't you wear?
Not many. It's really interesting though. Tom is the owner of that whole deal. And as a good soldier, I follow whatever Tom wants. I mean, that's my job, is to make sure what he wants to have happen. And then the rules deal, I kind of mentioned briefly, not building the car and then finding out what the rules are. The rules deal, and the people that really fascinate me are the young kids with a lot of passion, not a lot of money, but they come and they try so hard. I love those kids. They just absolutely turn that to me is my jam. So helping people get into racing for the first time. I was 38 years old before I ever owned a race car. So I mean, I flew Apaches and Cobras, and those were pretty zippy. But it's been a lot of fun to help those kids. So Tom was writing his rules. He asked David if he could use the Drag Week rules as a base, which he did, which was awesome, because that gave Tom a really solid beginning for the rule set. And then Tom actually, much to his credit, and I think Luke Newhoff was part of this as well, they wrote a lot of their own rules. A lot of their classes are very much their own, but absolutely fascinating. Tom did a really good job with his rule set, and I help with the rules. I'm the chief of tech, I guess, for Drag Week and for Sick Week. So I answer most of the tech questions, and big part of that tech committee that we have. And the reality is that the rules are basically, you start out with a basic car. You know, here's your street race car. It's got a stock frame, stock suspension. You have whatever the hell engine you want, but it's got a full interior, full dashboard, and all that. And they just work up from there to Super Street, to Modified, to Pro Street, and then to Unlimited. And then, of course, there's the gasser categories, so on and so forth. But the point of it really is that just like Bonneville, and that's how David set it up initially, is we brought about a lot of our Bonneville type experiences and attitudes to the drag and drive community. So a lot of what you see in this type of deal is very, very much from the Bonneville experience. You can cheat at Bonneville and get away with it. You can cheat on a drag and drive and get away with it. The reality is, though, if you go home with a trophy you truly don't deserve, you don't feel good about that.
Right.
And that's been like one of our big things, is that we honor your integrity. And racers don't normally come to the community from that perspective, especially if they're circle track racers. You know, where if you're not cheating, if you didn't get caught, you aren't cheating.
Right. The gray area.
It's just not. Yeah, there's gray areas. Oh, look, I've experienced every single gray area you can come up with. Well, maybe not all of them. There's probably a few I haven't noticed. But yeah, I mean, the reality is that, you know, everybody that does this has been brought up in a group that honors your integrity, that says, hey, you know, nobody wants to do wrong, nobody wants to be wrong, and nobody wants to cheat to win. So it's one of the things that kind of gives you that wholesome family gig, you know.
Right. So I guess it's about the third or fourth day on a drag and drive is where you start getting a lot of questions coming your way about certain legality questions, and then you have to be a referee, put your referee hat on and pull out the book.
Okay.
and get to the bottom of it.
The fourth day or Thursday is what I traditionally call the day of justification, which is basically,
okay, there you go.
I'm cheating like 14 mofos. I'm in fourth place. So those three other cheating bastards in front of me, I got to go figure out what's wrong with their junk so I can get out and protest for them. And you know, most of these guys won't actually protest. They'll just come up to me and say, hey, Keith, you know, did you see this guy's got, you know, and like, dude, really? It's Thursday. I kind of expect you to be here. I mean, you're in fourth, so I get this. And it's pretty common. Six Summer didn't have any of that. I mean, and honestly, there's so few protests over the years. I've handled all the protests for Drag Week and the Sick Week, Six Summer, so on, all the sick events. And there's been so few actual protests where people actually take the time to write the check or to hand you $100 bill and to actually write down what somebody's doing wrong. Most people just walk up and say, hey, what about this? What about that? And, you know, my answer is whatever. So yeah, it's, there's maybe you can literally count the protests on that hand.
What do they?
21 years.
Do they?
Well, I mean, that's excellent.
Do they protest at Bonneville?
Pardon me?
Do they protest at Bonneville? Or land speed in general?
Yes. And I've witnessed a bunch of those. I've been protested at Bonneville. And interestingly enough, I was wrong. And we didn't know we were wrong. And we had the nose of the Camaro, the air dam on the Camaro for this particular class had to be at the forwardmost leading edge of the bumper. And the bumper on an 80 Camaro has actually got two leading edges. There's a top and a bottom leading edge. The top leading edge is what I had used for the air dam, and I had cut everything below the air dam off so I could get it in and out of a trailer. And because these cars are wicked low, I mean, literally that high. So we didn't know that was wrong. So it was off by 1/8 of an inch. So David and I walked over to the guy. Tanya went with us to keep us straight. And we went over and told the guy, you don't ever really want to protest at Bonneville because legitimately you're always kind of that guy. But this guy was brand new. He'd never been there before. One of his friends convinced him that, you got to do this. So he walked over to his pit and said, hey, look, withdraw your protest. We'll withdraw our entry in that category. You'll keep your trophy. Life will be grand. And he said, yeah, I just didn't want you to win by cheating. And we went,
That did it. That did it.
Okay.
That did it.
Okay. Well, so I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something to the effect of, well, if you'd brought a race car, you wouldn't have had to do this. And I think David said something. You may have the record this week, but it won't be in the record book. And we literally, it was a great story because Tanya and I and David are walking back to our pits. It's like a quarter mile back to our pits. So we're walking back to our pits along this line, and all of us are on cell phones looking for a junkyard that's got a new front end. Because I had literally cut all this off, so I couldn't build an air dam on the Ford. It wasn't there anymore. So we found a car with a front clip in Idaho. And Tanya was actually qualified at like 246 on a record with a car in a different category. So, which the nose was legal then.
Right.
So we took her back to the motel, put her in, went through impound, did all that crap, put her in the motel. David, Chad Reynolds, and another guy, we took off for Idaho and literally got to this guy's junkyard like 9 o'clock at night, pulled the car into their shop, pulled the nose off the car, bought pizza, pulled the nose off the front of the car, threw it in the back of the truck, and drove back to Wendover. So we get back to the Salt. It's like 2 or 3 in the morning, and get an hour's sleep. Wake Tanya up, take her out to back up her record. She went 251 on her record, and got a AA license, which is a really, really big deal. And very few females have AA licenses. So got her AA license. Life was grand. And we're taking the car through impound. You have to take it back, and they inspect the engine size and all that crap, and the body and all that. So we're going through the impound line, and I asked the chief deck guy, who's a good friend of mine, I was like, Dan, can we take the nose off this car while we're in impound? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. I can look at that part of it right now. He said, go ahead. So we're rolling forward in line. There's like 6 or 8 cars in front of us, and we're literally unbolting the nose off the car. By the time we got back to the pits, we had the new nose on the car. And then we had to build an air dam and all that stuff. And we went out and put, his record was like 209, and we went 227 on it.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
put a little awesome exclamation on it. Like, it's like going.
Yeah, it was like, yeah. If you hadn't said, I just didn't want you to do it by cheating, it was like, yeah.
You would have saved us a little sleep.
He ended up being a really good friend of mine, so I won't put his name out. He's turned out to be a really great guy. He was just brand new at Bonneville, didn't really know how you do that. So it was fun. That's great.
Yeah, I saw the video of that one, and all it said is David with that nose, or the black nose or something like that. And he goes, after a quick trip to Idaho, sets the record at 220 something, 220 some change. And I knew there was a story, but I did not know what it was. And I do remember something about a protest, but I didn't know the story. Now we know. So
it was horrific. It was crazy. But and I've seen people protest cars after they've left the Salt. It's like, how do you do that? And the answer is they took the guy's record from him. He had, if you want it, the problem with Bonneville, again, you do not build a car and then go figure out where it meets the rules. This guy, everybody that wants to race at Bonneville wants to drive a Roadster. And if you're going to run a Roadster, you're going to run a 350 Chevrolet. Well, C is the engine size. C Street Roadster is the hardest class at Bonneville. This guy had set a record in C Street Roadster like 204 and got a hat and was on his way home when they called him up and said, hey, your record's being protested. We've upheld the protest. Be advised, you're no longer a member of the 200 mile an hour club. You can send your trophy. We won't send you a trophy. You won't get a red timing tag. And Joe called me up, and he was literally in tears. And I'm like, dude, let me see what I can do. So called back, talked to the president of the SCTA, heard his side of the story, and then called my friend who is the president of the Bonneville 200 mile an hour club. The Bonneville 200 mile an hour club and the Southern California Timing Association are actually 2 separate entities. So the SCTA oftentimes brings up new rules and creates new classes and creates different ways because cars change and evolve over time. So they're constantly evolving the rules to match that. The Bonneville 200 Mile an Hour Club is traditionally based in Utah. And the rules for getting in the 200 Mile an Hour Club, you have to set a record over 200 miles an hour on the Bonneville Salt Flats above the 200 Mile an Hour Club minimum. So when the SCTA creates a new class, the Bonneville 200 Mile an Hour Club says, yeah, a 500 cubic inch blown fuel, whatever, has got to go at least 230 miles an hour to get a record, because it's that engine combination, and multiple other classes has been 240 or 250. So they give it a minimum speed that's acceptable to get in the club, and it kind of maintains the integrity of the club. So it's really important. So engines basically go from AA, which is an unlimited, 500 inches to 430 inches. That group is called an A engine. B engine is from 430 to 372. C engines 372 down to 305. D engines are 305 down to 260, and below that I don't really care. They have smaller engine sizes. I mean, well, okay.
I know what you mean. We know what you mean. Oh yeah, of course you do. Of course you do.
There's a reason. So
right, I know. Go ahead.
We went. Do you know the story?
I do, but go ahead.
And blew our junk up like first pass. A vent tube for the carburetor popped up, went through the motor, got into the quench area, popped the heads up, lifted the heads. When it lifted the head, it introduced oil in a couple of cylinders and detonated them. And we made a mess out of this brand new blown fuel big block Chevrolet. So we sat around, drank beer, and moped for a day or so, and whined and cried and pissed and moaned. And and then Freiburger's got to be there on Friday for the freaking top speed trophy presentation / got to take the stupid picture. So we're going to be there till Friday. So it's Monday. Monday. We drank beer on Sunday. We blew it up on Saturday.
You don't even remember. You started. You don't know when you stopped.
Oh, it was funny. It was just great. So we're all sitting around drinking beer, and we're all literally, there's nothing else to do. And Freiburger is a savant, like Derek Putnam is a savant. Brian Loans is a crazy savant. You know, these guys just know crap. They know crap. I mean, in Brian and David's case, it's just insane crap. The bottom line is that David knows the Bonneville record book like the back of his hand, literally. He is a member of the Bonneville or the Dry Lakes Hall of Fame, and he was taken into the Dry Lakes Hall of Fame as a historian. So anyway, so he knows rolling. So we're sitting there bullshitting, and we're drinking beer, because that's kind of what you do at Bonneville when you race cars junk. I mean, you offer it up as a parts store for anybody else that needs something. And we got to chat, and David said, you know, the iRecord is open. I said, what the hell's the iRecord? I don't know anything below D. Why would you care? And he's like, well, the iRecord's open. I said, what's the iRecord? He says, that's 2 cylinders. I'm like, cool. What's that take? So we're sitting there with like the greatest minds in motorsports. I mean, literally, we're sitting there with Keith Thornton, Racing Engines. We're sitting there with Todd Ryden from MSD. We've got our Holly rep is with us. We've got and Freiburger and Mike Copeland from Diversified Products up in Detroit. We got all these people sitting around. We're all bullshitting. We're basically drinking beer because we got nothing else to do. And we started to see if we could make it run on 2 cylinders. And if you really get stupid and are super bored, you can actually go to YouTube and look up it drove a mile down the Salt, 32.419 miles an hour. It was so slow, we gave David a book on tape and an ice cold soda pop.
Well, he had to wear a mouth guard on that thing. I know that thing had to shake you to death. I'm sure he probably had a mouth guard in on that one.
Oh, it sounded horrible. I'm telling you, but 3 days to get it running and figure it all out. And the reality is, when it fired up, I had a crew cab push truck, And we had 6 people in the truck. When that thing fired off and pulled off from the push truck, the crowd inside of the truck went absolutely nuts. It was crazy. Great fun. It's my favorite trip to Bonneville ever.
I did watch. Oh, you need to be sponsored by a beer company at that point, because I mean the video from inside the truck was epic, Mitchell. Because the first thing they say, you hear it fire, and they're all talking to each other. Is it running? Is it actually running? I can't tell. Is it run to pull off? You pull over, and it's like, oh, he said pull away. And I was like, and everybody goes nuts. And so it's like going, yeah, and Mitchell, it takes off like a herd of snails, and it sounds like one ticked off lawnmower. It's, I'm like going, oh.
It was a very unhappy camper. But, the best part is we were dumping fuel like gangbusters in this thing, sending it all out the exhaust, which is completely on fire. It was a mess.
That I didn't see.
It was a very bad decision. Hey, we set a record at Bonneville that year.
There you go. One of many.
I mean, yeah, we've set a few records at Bonneville. So I've actually set records over 200 miles an hour at 7 different places.
Really? It was 7?
So that's a lot.
It was 7? Okay. I lost track.
Yeah.
I thought it was...
Maxton, ECTA, Maxton, North Carolina, Muroc, Dry Lakes in California.
Right.
Bonneville, Texas, Maine, up in northern Maine.
Right.
El Mirage Dry Lake, and then this place in Australia called Lake Gardner.
Okay. I didn't realize you got an El Mirage. I knew you got it at Muroc and stuff like that. I didn't realize El Mirage or Australia. So.
Yeah, I've got them all.
Yeah.
That was kind of that was kind of all of them. It was like that was the goal. I mean, you have to have goals in life, and that was my goal in life.
That's true, Mitchell.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, a little bit on the conditions. Say if you're at Bonneville, with the weather and stuff, can that affect the way that the sand is packed before you make the salt?
First things first, you never judge weather unless you're standing underneath it. I know that's a pretty statement, but it's the truth. And it changes so much at Bonneville. If it's a minor thunderstorm, it won't bother you very much. But if it's a rain system that comes through, that generally will end the meet. You have to be like super patient to race at Bonneville. You can't just expect to go out there and go racing it.
Right.
On average, you can, but over the years, I've been rained out a number of times, not just at Bonneville, but at Lake Gardner, Australia. I've been rained out at Australia twice, so that's once I shipped the car over there and once I shipped the motorcycle over there. So it's a tough place.
Tell our viewers a little bit about the distances for each of the class. Each car goes different distances. They all don't go seven miles down range.
They all do have basically the same courses. So you have 2 courses. You have a 3-mile course, which is called the short course, and it's for the average guy, I guess. It's not running over 200 miles an hour. If you run it's a 3-mile course. From the starting line to the first mile is just run up to speed. You enter the first mile at between the 1 and the 2 is your first mile. The 2 and the 3 is your second mile. That short course, if you run 175 miles an hour at the 2-mile marker, you can go to the long course. And then anybody that's on the long course is expected to run in the well over 200 mile an hour range, in theory. You have on the course, and this is something that's really hard to get around people's heads. You're not allowed to drive the race car unless it's on the course. So you have to tow it around. If you go on a rope, like you just throw a rope out of the car and you drag it around with the truck and you take it out to the starting line. For the pits are set up around the 3-mile marker for the long course. You have to drive to the starting line, which is a mile behind the starting line. So you go drive, get in line, go through this long line, you end up getting the starting line. Short course or the long course are kind of set up in a V where the 5-mile course on one side, 3 miles on the other side. And it depends on what the salt's like that year, how they set the courses up. But they always give you a printed handout of this is how it's done. In any case, when you get up the starting line, vast majority of these cars are 4-speeds. Very, very, very few of them are automatics. They're all manual gears because they take the least amount of horsepower to drive that powertrain. So you'll push the cars off simply because the clutches are expensive. And it's hard on clutches to leave the starting line on the clutch. They're tilting. We're running a tilt and triple disc clutch, and they're getting kind of rare because of the that side of NASCAR is gone. But
Right.
In any case, we push off, and we have to be off the course by the first mile. And so we're off the course. The pit truck goes down to the end to go meet the car. The car goes down the course. It goes between the starting line and the 2-mile marker is just run up to speed on the long course. In the beginning of between the 2 and the 2 1/4 is an entry speed timing trap. It doesn't have any value other than it tells you how fast you're entering the course. The course is between the 2 and the 3, the 3 and the 4, and the 4 and the 5. So you have 3 measured miles to get your average speed over that mile. As you go through the 2-mile marker, you start that entry and process between the 2 and the 3. They'll get a measured distance and get an average time over that. Same between the 3 and the 4 and the 4 and the 5. If your speed is above the record in the record book, you have to then take the car from the end of the course. You'll go through the 5. There's a little cute timing trap. It's 132, but I think they use that in drag races some places. There's a little timing trap at the end of the 5 that gives you an exit speed. And then you start the deceleration process. And the deceleration process is like super critical. It's like more important than the whole. It's fun going up to speed. Coming back from speed is a real, once the chute's out and everything's happy, it's a wonderful thing. It's real easy. But rolling off the throttle, getting the chute edge, getting the chute out, rolling off the throttle, all of that is a part of that deal. But it takes you like a mile or two to slow down. It depends on how fast you run. My Camaro's been 261 miles an hour, so it takes a couple miles to slow that down. The car weighs just an immense amount of weight. It's got 1,100 pounds of lead in it, so it's a very heavy car. In any case, so they mass, acceleration, you take it out there and it goes for a while. So as a push truck driver, you like push them off the starting line, then you meander your nappy ass down a return road, and you go the 5 miles of the course plus a couple more miles to go get the jackass, and you put a little dope on a rope on them. They're either real happy to see you or they're whining like little schoolgirls, and it doesn't matter either or. You just go get them. And I'm actually listening on the. I'm just saying. So you're listening on the radio. You can hear what how the car is doing as it goes down the course. So they're announcing that as the car goes down the course. You know whether you've set a record or not. The driver may or may not know, depending on if the safety crews got to him. One of the things about Bonneville that's very, very different than drag racing is that we cannot pre-stage an ambulance anywhere or a fire truck anywhere to get to you quickly. So you may be a minute or two for that guy to get to you if you're on fire. So they have a lot of really stringent fire system requirements and driver suit requirements because of that time delay. But the bottom line is, you go pick this guy up, and if the guy set a record, girl, if they set a record, then you drag them back to impound, and you sign into impound. You say, this is what we ran. Give them your time slip. They look at your entry form and figure out if you're in fact over the speed, and they go through all this crap. And you can work on the car for 4 hours. And sometimes they just started this new program where you actually get to run that afternoon. Traditionally, most of our records have been set the next morning at 7 o'clock. So when we race, normally we'll come back in the morning to do our second run, because it's the average speed of 2 runs over a given mile. And if any of your average, you qualify in any of the miles, but let's say the record was 200, you went 210 in the first mile, 195, 170 in the second and third mile. So you slowed down. you then qualified in that first mile. They take all of that information. You go out the next morning, and any of the miles that you average over the record is a new record. And when you do that, you have another hour to get back to the impound area, and they check your car and make sure they certify it for the class that it's in. Right. So it seems like a very complicated process, but it's a very controlled process where you know what you're doing before you get there. So it's no big deal.
So to tell our viewers, if they're really interested in going out there and watching a race on the salt flats, what week is usually speed weeks for Bonneville?
Second week of August, or first to second week of August, and it really depends on how the days align. Like this year, I think it's the 2 to the 8th of August. We're planning on going with Tom, so our car's going. So let's talk about going to Bonneville for your first time. Never been there, got no idea. I want to go to Bonneville. Absolutely, you mentioned getting with a team. Awesome, great idea. Find a team that's everybody needs an extra set of hands if you don't do any process, but definitely go with somebody if you have that option. If you don't have that option, you don't know anybody. I promise, if you go to Speed Week, you will know tens of people when you come away from it, because it's a very, very welcoming group. So they'll bring in your pits. They're like, "Hey, dude, what are you doing?" I've had a bunch of kids over the years that I've stuck. Hey, have you ever changed quick change gear? I hate doing it.
I'll walk you through the process. I'll walk you through it.
Actually, quick change. It's not bad, but I do that. We drag. It's so important to share not only the opportunity to be at Bonneville and racing a car, but to give the people that are there as spectators, to the best of your ability, an opportunity to interact with it, and to be part of it. And we've had, David and I've got some really great stories of people that we've done that with. And Alex was more of I had so much help. I didn't really have an opportunity to get those guys, but even when we went to El Mirage with David, we pulled in a pickup crew member is what I call them. It's just like somebody's like, "Hey, Fred, what are you doing?" The guy's name actually was Fred at El Mirage. It's like, "Hey, Fred, what are you doing? You ever worked on a race car?" "No, sir." "Well, come on,
come on, and hold this."
Bring them in. They just hold it. "Do me a favor, would you grab that?" "Sure, yeah, absolutely." And they're like, and it's such fun to be able to do that. I mean, it's an amazing experience to share with friends. Going to Bonneville your first time, you need to know there's a camping area, and the camping area is really, really active. On the 1st and the 2nd of August this year, there'll be a car show at one of first off, you stay in casinos. So the food's wonderful, the whole deal's really, but the casinos have recognized that there's this thing called Speed Week, and they jack up their prices to stupidity. It's crazy expensive on Friday and Saturday. And if you we've booked for the whole week, so they charge you this exorbitant amount for the whole week. And usually we'll quit on Sunday and go find another hotel, because once on Monday, it's drivers meeting Saturday morning, Friday night car show, Saturday night car show. By Monday morning, half the crews are gone. Everybody's blown up their junk and gone home. So the serious racing starts on Monday, and the motels are totally free and available, and you can just walk in and get a reasonably priced room. And so you might camp for a couple of nights for Friday and Saturday night out the bend in the road, which is kind of the entry road going on the salt flats. It's dry camping, genuinely horrible. I've done it once, won't do it again. But yeah, it's like El Mirage. El Mirage is horrible, genuinely horrible. A lot of guys camp out there. My answer is I'll never race there again until next time.
Until next time.
You don't know. It's horrible. It's dusty, filthy, nasty. You're driving on freaking dirt, and going 200, in my case, 213 miles an hour. So yeah, whatever. It's fun.
Well, I would think people would take running on a little bit of mud and dirt versus running on salt due to the results, meaning trying to get everything clean. And we all know you can't get everything clean. I mean, so I don't know what people do.
I have an I have an air conditioned shop, and it's really important because I live in Alabama where the humidity is really high. The salt acts as a desiccant. Whatever residual salt is left, it acts as a desiccant, so it absorbs water and repels water, absorbs water, da 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 da. So it rusts things severely. You just have to be very, very conscious when you come off the salt of all the condition of the car. And traditionally, I'll take it apart every year. But
right.
Lately, Alex and Dennis did such a great job of cleaning the car when I got it back that it was really in nice shape. So Tom won't have a lot to do.
Because I've heard horror stories of people trying to rent cars to go out on the salt. So what?
The key is to rent the car from a faraway place that doesn't know you're taking it to the salt. You didn't tell them what you were doing. You're not lying to them. I would never recommend that. But they don't look at cars as harshly in Reno and Las Vegas as they do in Salt Lake City during speed week.
Okay. Gotcha. I guess I've read articles, and I mean, people put articles out on how to rent a car to go on the salt flat, or what you do to go on the salt flat, and the bags over the mats inside the car, and don't do this and don't do that, and pay for the Boy Scouts having a car wash, the pressure wash out there at the end before you go back into town. Do this and do that, and then what's funny is then I see some rented RVs and videos out there on the salt as push trucks, and I'm like going, oh boy, that's gonna be rough.
I have done that in Australia. We did that. We rented RVs, and it was a mess. It was horrible. We took it back, and we spent a day and a half cleaning them. Because it's a 109-mile road, and we get back to the rental company to turn these two campers in, and they're like, "Well, mate, we see you've been on the salt bit." So, there's a $250 cleaning fee for that. And we're like, really? We wouldn't have spent, we're like getting this money out as fast as we can. I'm like,
right. it's
grateful.
Here's a tip. Here's some drinks, Internally grateful.
We were ecstatic. But, we'd have known that, we wouldn't have spent a day and a half cleaning the damn things. But no, it's tough. The salt is tough. It's just hard. It's not like drag racing. Drag racing, you got to get a little rubber off your back quarter, but that's not.
And you hope that's it. You hope that's it. You don't want to buff nothing out,
No, we had on 6th summer, we had an incident, I want to say on Wednesday or Thursday, where Timothy Blythe wrecked his car. He's got a little Spitfire.
Yeah.
And do you know him?
And I know
love
of him.
this kid.
Yeah, we know of him.
It's a 7-second car. This is not some piece of junk. It doesn't look like a 7-second car, which is kind of the beauty of the car. But he lost that car on 6th summer, and I just felt so bad for him. It was devastating to him because that car is just life. I mean, that's how he wakes up in the morning. So
I mean, it took a hard slap, but it did its job. You know what I mean? It was a hard slap.
The chassis was awesome.
Yeah.
And I think the chassis survives this. I don't think the chassis was hurt. I think it was just the body panels. So I don't think it's going to be a huge. He'll know more about it in the next week or so.
Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure. But I tell you, you're just literally scratching the surface of all the stuff that you do when it comes to land speed racing and all this stuff, and all. I mean, literally, it's just the tip of it. I, like Mitchell, we have a passion in many different things, drag racing being our main thing, but my other passion has been salt flat racing. And I've never had an opportunity to go yet. And I told you when I first talked to you that I had an opportunity, I think when I was 17 years old, with Bill Summers, who I met at the PRI show of Summers Brothers fame, okay, that he said, if you can get out there, you can crew on my car. Okay, so I'm like going crazy. I'm like saving up pennies and everything I can do, because going to school and stuff. So that's when I found out that in the state of Nevada, that you cannot rent a car until you're 18 years old. So I could land in one city. I could not get to the salt flats, but there was casino buses going from Vegas out past, I want to say Wendover, but I can't remember the other town that's nearby.
Yeah.
Okay. Casino buses going out there. But guess what? you got to be 18 years old to ride the casino buses because they serve alcohol. And I'm like going, look, I'll wear the badge. You can wrist tie me like this. You can put me up with the driver. I'll drink water and you can mark it. I said, I just need a ride. Nothing. So it worked out to literally, I was going to meet a stranger at the airport that Bill had flying in, and I was going to hop in a car and ride with him out to Utah. And then literally the week before, no, maybe 2 days before, whatever, the race got called. Okay. So he gave me a call and says, hey, we're not racing. So all my plans up in the air. So I moved all my stuff the next year. So while I'm legal age, now I can rent a car and all this stuff like that. And then the next year, same thing, washed out back to back. And then from there, life, work, school got in the way. So hopefully at some time I'm going to a soft flat race.
I'm going to Speed Week in August, so you're welcome to come.
I appreciate it, but I currently got plans. Go ahead.
I will offer you a place to have a pit stop. Tanya and I have really, really enjoyed sharing the car, and I don't expect us to stop doing this for a while. I mean, it's kind of nice because I don't have to do any of the work, and it was the work. After 25 years of doing the work, you pretty much know how to do the junk. It's the same nuts and bolts and the same, I mean, they're new nuts and bolts, but they're same sizes, and I can. But giving other people the opportunity to do it. I will not just give you my car to go race. Alex did not just give my car to go race. I wouldn't do that.
Right.
My deal is, if you're not a member of the team, if you're not intricately involved with it, then I'm like selling a ride, and I simply won't sell a ride. I know people do that, and people have done that in the past. I'm not that guy. Alex built her own top end of that engine. That was David's engine, but she put her own naturally aspirated top end on it. Tom is actually building 2 engines for it, one for him, one for Dave Schroeder. So they're building their own junk, and I'll help them do that. But the beauty of it is they're doing the work, and they're spending the money,
right.
and I'm not. So I'm excited for Tom. I'm excited because I think he's been 250, 263,
right,
in the quarter.
Right.
That's fast. My car is in 5 miles.
Right, but
The only difference is mine weighs twice as much.
Right, and it takes a little bit longer to get there, and you don't quite have a point of reference like a wall. But you still, like you said, when you put the physics, pen to pad, it's a lot of physics there.
I love the starting of it. In the very beginning of Bonneville, without getting too wrapped up in it, 1999, 2000, I started running nitrous. And you'd run nitrous at Bonneville on these I ran D motors, 300-inch motors, and old GZ302s.
Right.
And you turn the nitrous on for the 1 mile marker, and you leave it on through the 5. So it's like 70 seconds of nitrous. And it's a small hit. It's like a 225 horsepower hit. But, you leave it on for 70 seconds. 2 15-pound bottles side by side with a nitrogen push system. It was crazy complicated, but and I was successful several times. I qualified I was trying to beat 4 GM engineers' record, and these 4 GM engineers are actually smarter than I am. I decided that after 5 years. It took me 5 years to learn that. But
5 engines or 5 years?
Camaro was set up 5 years out of 10 engines, 2 a year.
Okay. Okay.
So,
go ahead.
You blow one up, put it up. That's how. It's stupid. I mean, the beauty of it is, with nitrous, you generally don't hurt the block. The crank and block and rods are fine. It's the pistons that are the fusible link.
Right. Right. Yeah, for sure.
I know.
They burn.
I've been there, done that.
No.
Yeah, burned up a couple of pistons. Yeah. You can stick your thumb down in the piston.
Nice. That's usually when they heat soak. When you turn the nitrous on at Bonneville, basically you turn it on. You're watching your EGTs. So as soon as you turn it on, you watch the drop in EGTs, and if it ever gets back to that, you let off because it's off. Guaranteed. That was fun. I love the 300-inch motors. I still got a couple of them that are pretty crazy, but anyway, that's my story.
You're like, yeah,
You're talking about, land speed records and stuff and running on the salt flats. And one of the biggest names that stands out is Burt Monroe on his Indian motorcycle, and the history of him going out there and setting the land speed record on the with his Indian, and of course the movie's got a little bit of dramatized to his story because they're trying to make money off of it, but it's actually a really good movie at how he came from New Zealand over to race at Bonneville. And I think he's done it. He's done it 3 times.
Oh, he did a bunch more than that. He
Much
came
more? Okay.
forever. Burt Monroe was a legend in the early days of Bonneville. And the reality is, Invercargill to LA is a hell of a trip. And there was maybe some embellishments in that, but I don't know if you know that Anthony Hopkins actually gave his salary to the movie and he just took a percentage of the box office at the end of it. He wanted them to make the movie. He wanted to be Burt Monroe in that movie. So my long car, the modified sports car, they asked me if I wanted to be in the movie. And honestly, I'd blown up 2 engines at Bonneville that year, and I was just over it. It was like I'd been to Bonneville August and then again in September, because you have basically 3 or 4 opportunities to race on the salt a year. Speed Week, Utah Salt Flats racers have a race in September, and then there's a race in October. And the October race is really questionable whether it happens or not. It happens about 50% of the time. But in any case, Burt Monroe is a great story. And the sportsmanship award that they gave him is actually a true story. But there's never been a sportsmanship award. They just did that to give him money so that he could come back.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty cool. And its Indian was a 1,000 cc? What, a 1,000 cc?
Yeah, it was. I want to say it was 1,000 cc's, but it was a 1921, I think, Indian. So, and it was the bike that he bought new. So he was, and he truly did make his own pistons and all the rest of that. That was all part of his process. I mean, I remember hearing stories about him before they made the movie, and it was always just kind of like crazy stories you hear about this guy making pistons in the sand in his backyard. But that's what he did. He'd cast them up and away he'd go. So yeah, really cool story. That movie added a lot to the Bonneville Salt Flats.
Wow.
There's a lot of great stories around that movie.
Did not realize
the director of that movie.
I didn't realize that you had an opportunity to be in that movie and you were just tired, basically wiped out from everything that happened that year. But it's okay. But you also have a passion for motorcycles, do you not?
I have a few. All right. So yeah, we could do motorcycles. It's fine. I have a lot of motorcycles that I've owned over the years. I'm down a little bit. I've sold a couple of bikes in the last couple of months. I think I've got 8 or 9 motorcycles right now. Just junk motorcycles, stuff that I like. One of them's not junk. I've got a 45 Indian Chief that's a beautiful motorcycle that I loved it. I started out sweeping floors in an Indian dealership in the 70s, and the man that was there was a wonderful, wonderful guy. He restored Indian 4-cylinders, and I've always wanted one. So I've got an old Indian. Yay. A bunch of old Hondas. They make me happy. Harleys, BMWs. I have all kinds of crap.
We can talk about this one right here.
Man, I love that cafe racer.
Actually, an incredible motorcycle. That's an actual real cafe racer from England in the early 60s, and it came with all of the document and paperwork for the modifications they had made to go through the English inspection process in like 60 or 61. So it's a very, very cool bike. I found it in a barn 7 miles from my house.
Really?
It's insanely beautiful. Yeah, it's a Norton featherbed frame with a Triumph T110 engine in it. So it's what they call a Triton. Very, very common cafe racer in England. But that bike is exactly as it was built in 1960. Exactly.
I love the tank. The way the tank flows and the polish. That is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I ended up. I was at that was my little 350 Yamaha. Those things are RDs are just fun. I ended up selling that to a good friend of mine who was really into them, and I let him. It was like, you just take it. It's we worked out a price. It was fine, and I didn't care. That bike is stunningly beautiful. Yeah, that's a crazy bike. Anyway, so there's lots of motorcycles in my life. They come and go and don't really care. 550 Hondas seems to be my jam. We built 4 550 Hondas, and 3 of my Harley buddies and I rode them to Mexico from Alabama. It's like a 10-day trip. It was amazing. It was, dude, it was a new level of stupid.
Well, I got some buddies years ago from Florida. They rode to Sturgis. And they rode to Sturgis, and then they shipped the bikes back. Once they got out to Sturgis, they just said, no more. This was a bucket list, and they thought they were tough and all. These guys worked hard their whole life, and they said, no, I called it. I shipped it back. We rented a car and drove back, and when they were done, so I'm like, exactly. And I'm like going, I can't remember what they called it, the Hard Butt Award, or they called it something. For one of those long trips. I can't remember.
Iron Butt.
They got it. That's it. Iron Butt.
Yeah,
there's Iron Butt.
Yep.
The Iron Butt thing is 1,000 miles one day.
They did it.
I actually, it's not something I would ever recommend somebody do. It's incredibly dangerous. The last couple 100 miles, I was just exhausted and driving at night and tired. It was stupid. So I wouldn't recommend people do that. But it's a group of people that have a passion, and
right.
There are people that are really serious about it, and I admire them for that. I just wouldn't recommend it. I teased
him for the longest time because I promised he was an inch and a half shorter after the ride, but he sprung back. Okay, but initially, it was ugly. So.
Yeah, and I tell you, my sister-in-law, her family, her grandfather actually collected Harley Davidsons, and they've got everything from the Harley Davidson bicycles all the way up through several models of different bikes that they have, and they have them in a museum here in Stark. And so in their museum, they've got race car stuff, and then they've got those bikes, the bicycles, and then the motorcycles that are Harley Davidsons, which is really neat, because you get to see a piece of history, because that's how the company started, was from bicycles, and then slowly moved up in the ranks, and look where they are at today, still going strong.
And that's kind of my happy place, is up in Maggie Valley, where they've got Wheels Through Time. Just a huge fan of that. When I get done with all the drag and drive stuff and all the craziness goes away, I usually will sneak a bike out and go to the mountains for 3 or 4 days. And I frequently go by myself, because honestly, it's just nice to go sit by a river and not have all of the people in your ear and all the rest of it. When you go to Sick Summer, or Sick Week, or Drag Week, or whatever, you're kind of the guy giving the driver's meeting, and you're the guy making all the rules all that time. Making everybody follow the rules. And the reality is that after those events, Sick Summer was wonderful, but I'm really glad to just sit in my truck and drive right now. It's nice to not have anybody in your ear.
Yes, like right now. Case in point.
It's fine. I really, Robert, I'm glad we got to do this, because I know I had promised you the opportunity to do it, and I'm really, really glad. I'd be remiss in saying that Tom's taken a heck of a risk with all the sick events, and we've had some really great events this year, and the people that come to these things are just salt of the earth. I mean, wonderful, wonderful people. So
I want to tell you a funny story. So this was Sick Week here, where they run through Florida and go to South Georgia Motorsports Park. And a buddy of mine, he calls me, and I'm at work. He says, "Hey, Mitchell, I'm on this dirt road back here, and I came across this trailer, and it has New Jersey plates on it, and it's got a Sick Week sticker." I was like, I know whose trailer that is because they just posted this morning that it got stolen out of the hotel parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a hold of the guy that got his trailer stolen, and I told him, I said, hey, I know where your trailer's at. It's over in Keystone Heights on the dirt road. So then my friend called me back and says, hey, Clay County just picked it up and they're taking it to Clay County Sheriff's Department and putting it in the impound yard. So I got back hold of the guy, told him what was going on. I had to give him directions. Anyway, he got a hold of the Clay County Sheriff's Department. He explained what had happened, and they actually put his trailer back on a rollback and took it all the way to Gainesville Raceway and dropped it off that morning so he could use it and make his runs at Gainesville before traveling to the next track.
How awesome is that? That's awesome.
And unfortunately, I knew during Sixth Summer, one of the cars got stolen.
Oh, two of them got broken into. One of them was stolen. Mitchell, I want to back you up on that just a little bit. It's the one thing that I see as a common thread among all Dragon drives. And I'm going to actually give Tom a nod for the sick events being really, really homespun.
Yeah, they're excellent.
They're very racer friendly. And I say that because it to me, as one of the people that kind of leads that atmosphere, it's really important. And you'll find that over and over and over again. There's people trying to help each other. We're in our race car, me and my jackwagon buddy, we're out here racing. And the reality is that it's an adventure. It's not really anything more than that. It's just an adventure. We're not smart enough to realize this is a brain dead idea.
Yep.
Because it is. It's a stupid idea. It's, I'm going to take this 1,500 horsepower or 4,000 horsepower car, and I'm going to drive it on the street at 55, 65 miles an hour, and I'm going to go 200 miles to the next racetrack, which is pretty cool because it's a lot better than 200 miles to the next parking lot. In any case, the guys that do this, though, and especially early on when they do this, it's just fun. I mean, it is just such a blast. Their enthusiasm keeps me doing it. Reality. It's amazing. And it is a great adventure that you just need to come see one, look at it, and realize you don't have to have the bullseye. The bullseye deal that Tom created is just amazing because your car could run 21 seconds as long as the point, whatever it is, that we give you a different number every day for 5 days. And your job is to get as close to that number as you can. Like 0.17 was one of the first number this week at Sixth Summer. So your job is to go to 0.1, whatever your number is, whether it's 11 seconds or 15 seconds or 23 seconds, 0.17, your last two numbers have to be as close to, but not less than 0.17. And you would be amazed how much fun those guys have because there's a new winner every day. So they have 5 opportunities to win that. It's a great deal. And then the guys that are hardcore racers can race in this street race, the 850 street race deal. And, they can run unlimited and all the rest of that. And all of those are fun. And they have incredible value because the difficulty of doing that. But I really love the bullseye guys. It's because it's not about money.
Right.
I haven't been able to get in it because, it's really hard to get in. You have to be really quick to be able to race in it. But, one of the things that I like the most, I had a great time this year at Gainesville. I went around in the pits and I interviewed several people. And these are some of the vehicles are typically something that you wouldn't see, racing down the drag strip. And so I kind of honed in on those individuals and interviewed them and uploaded onto our page. And it was very popular. But, my whole thing is like you said, it's an adventure for everyone. And everybody has a different reason why they're doing it, and that makes it so great. And, and talking about the Taylors and being able to interview them this past year at Gainesville was excellent. And you couldn't ask for two better people to explain, their car, the reason why they do it, and you can just hear the passion in their voice every time that they speak. I mean, they live and breathe it and sleep drag racing every night. Her and her dad, and it's just, and you had the
And
snot
she
bucket
is,
that was out there, and you got Mitchell Garrett, uh, you know, going and running lumberjack, and just just all different types of people, from pro mod drivers to someone who's maybe never even been down the drag strip, but maybe once or twice participating.
and that's the whole point. The whole point is you don't have to be a Tom Bailey level of guy. I mean, it's wonderful if you can be that guy, but you can be the guy with a 17-second car as long as you got drag tires, because that's a requirement. As long as you've got a drag tire of some kind, you're going to be fine, and we're going to help you. We're going to get you from A to B. The Taylors, I want to say real fast. Alex is an amazing female. She happens to be an amazing race car driver. I've watched her do a couple of passes at Byron that were Glee, and she just drove the hell out of it. But she drove my car as well as it could be driven. She never put a foot out of line. She was incredibly humble, incredibly non-egotistical. She said, "How do I do this? What do I do?" And when we got to Monomoy, she really had the record book, the rule book down pat. She was really ready to do that. I've been around Alex since she was 16, and I've always liked her personally. I like Dennis personally. I like that, Debbie and Megan, but legitimately, she, the whole girl thing, she really doesn't care about. She just wants to
Right.
race.
Right,
She just
exactly.
wants to be a racer, and she's so good at it. And I have watched her, and I got to be honest with you. I want to give a minute's credit to Garrett as well. The whole Cletus show is a bit of a circus, but the reality is that guy will spend hours sitting there signing autographs. Same with Alex. Alex, if a kid comes up to Alex, she will stop what she's doing and take the time to spend time with that child. And I've seen her do it over and over again, selflessly. And I love that. I just think it's awesome.
That's great. That's
very
really
approachable.
professional. It's really professional and really sincere. You
Well,
know what I mean?
that's how you grab the child's attention to bring him in to a sport like that. If you show them the courtesy, they're never going to forget that opportunity. They're not, no matter how old they get.
No, they won't. I want to leave you with one parting story, and then I'm going to get out of here. We were talking about tacos in the run up to this thing. We talked about
Yes.
Baja, and
Yes.
And I want to share something. One of my favorite stories in my world. We're going off. David's running off some guy named Parnelli or something, and Rob Canan's riding around with Bruce Myers and some Manx thing. I don't know, like the first dune buggy and
Right.
and David.
History of Hot Rod
parade,
magazine,
right?
stuff like that. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so being the helping hand, the helper, so to speak. I'm hanging out in the pits where they left from, because they all went off to be heroes. And me and this guy are sitting there, and he's got a pickup truck, and on the back of his pickup truck's a Bonneville 2 Club sticker and now Mirage 2 Club sticker, and they're very rare together. And so I asked him, I said, "Hey, my name's Keith." He says, "Hi, my name's Dick." And his name is Dick Russell. And I met Dick, and I said, "Well, what'd you get in the 2 Club with?" And he said, "A Model A." I said, "Model A? Yeah, vintage 4-cylinder." I said, "Those are 2 Club stickers. How do you get in the El Mirage 2 Club, which is the hardest 2 Club in the world? How do you do that in a vintage 4-cylinder?" He says, "Well, here, I got some pictures." And he pulls out his pictures. He said, "The cam journals are not allowed to be enlarged in Model A block. So I decided that the easiest way to do this was to put the cam on the outside of the block." So he literally mounted the camshaft in an oil carriage on the outside of the block and gave him a large enough shaft that he could build enough horsepower. He built Parnelli Jones Indy cars. He built Big Ole. He was this guy. But you'd never know who he was unless I told you. And
Wow.
So I'm just blown away by this whole story of a vintage 4-cylinder, Model A 4-cylinder, going 230 miles an hour at Bonneville, 213 at El Mirage. And we met him again later on at Bob's Big Boy in Burbank. We got taken the F-bomb out to go cruise nights, and I saw Dick there. And then Dick unfortunately passed away. And but this guy was absolutely my hero. If you want to know who my heroes are the guys behind the scenes, the little guys, the guys that just make shit happen. A lot of fun. So that guy's name is Dick Russell. So if you want to know how to set a record, by the way, there is a rule in the Bonneville rulebook that says the cam must remain in the block.
Actually, I did hear that. I did hear that, and now I know why. I'd never. I did hear that before. And I'm like going because Aaron, who's the fella? Him and his partner built the V12, the aluminum V12. Amadine, I can't think of the gentleman's name. Built the homemade V12 that's running it in the Lakester out in El Mirage and Bonneville and stuff like that. And I tell you, it is a fascinating thing to see this homemade V12 built in their shop with twin overhead cams and everything like that. And I mean, it's just crazy. There's Raul.
That's the thing about there are no two pits at Bonneville the same. Every pit you go to is different. Every car is different. There's no Mustangs with an LS. Just none of that. But Dick Russell is just one of my favorite stories because this guy literally, there was a box. He didn't know there was a box you were supposed to draw inside or outside of. He just like, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And he was an amazing guy. When he passed, David did a nice little obituary in the Hot Rod magazine about him. And I want to think that was kind of because I was such a fan, but it was pretty cool deal. So yeah,
yeah, and I tell you that's someone who we would love to have on our show. Is David?
I can't do anything about that.
No. I'll reach out to him, but yeah, I would like to have him on our podcast one night.
I will tell you, David has been a dear friend, and the best part about David and I racing together, in 20 years of racing together, we've never had an argument. We've never raised our voices at each other.
That's saying something.
That's rare.
That's saying something. Yeah, that's rare.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy. And if he feels strongly about something, we let him do it. If I feel strongly, he lets me do it. It's all. He's just a good guy and a good friend. And that's kind of that whole story. But yeah, anything else? How can I help you?
Well, I don't think you want to talk for another couple hours because I mean, it's pretty much endless. You know what I mean? Apache helicopter pilot and instructor. What is the length of El Mirage and Muroc? You know what I mean? What is the length of the courses there? What's that?
1.3 miles for El Mirage, 1.5 miles for Muroc, 1.5 miles for Maine. But they also have a mile marker. So Texas is a mile. There's a lot of mile racing going on out there. Arkansas mile, Texas mile, so on and so forth. So
that's
a lot of opportunity to get involved.
That's exactly right. And I will take you up on your offer. I'll reach out to you and see if there's some time that possibly if you need somebody to help push your car, I'd be willing to help push your car. Now, I didn't say by myself because I know there's a whole lot of heft there. There's a whole lot of heft there. That's just not going to happen. But I'll be willing to help. As my father said, I can give you my weight.
There you go. You can push against it. It'll be fine. All right, my friends. Well, you guys have a great evening.
You too, Keith. It's great talking to you, buddy.
Thank you.
Wish you nothing but the best and have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Y'all be well.
Take care, Keith. All right, you too. All right, bye.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what a great show. We found out a lot about racing on the salt flats and everything else from Keith tonight and his involvement in Hot Rod magazine with their drag week and sick to mag, sick week, sick summer. Just an amazing background that he has.
And that is literally just scratching the surface. And I'm not kidding when I say that. He is, or until you retired, he was an Apache helicopter instructor. Okay, for I think he said 20-something, 30-something years. So
Blue Cobras.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like, what? And then owned and operated a business in Alabama. I mean, that he created. I think it was a rock business. So I mean, I was like, what? Where did this come from? You know what I mean? Then how'd you get hooked up in Bonneville if you live in Alabama? And and what it comes down to is something he said quite a bit and quite often, which we mirror here on the Spot Motorsports Media, is passion. You got to have a passion for something that you enjoy. It doesn't matter if it's collecting stamps. Have a passion. If it's drag racing, have a passion. Whatever makes you happy, have a passion about it. And that's what helps drive you to set your next goals, whatever it might be. And so we encourage everybody to go after that. So I think Keith said a lot with that, and I totally agree with him. And it's like, and I'm serious. I want to go to Bonneville. I want to go to a land speed event. I'll go to East Coast Time Association somewhere.
Man, wouldn't it be great to go out there and do interviews with the guys and the gals? Racing out there?
It'd be phenomenal because the opportunity to share another racing venue, because let's face it, that is primarily a West Coast thing. You know what I mean? That is a high desert thing primarily. It's clearly a West Coast thing. Now, the East Coast Time Association, as it sounds, is from Texas, typically east, and it's usually on the old airport runways. So, paved course, no dirt, no salt, no nothing like that. So there's a little bit of difference in that aspect. But the same thing, like you said, is exposing everybody to a very, very popular sport with a rich history. And it's just like Drag and Drive. There's no purse. There's no money to win. Okay, it's you put your thinking cap on, you come after a problem of wanting to set a record in the class that you're in, you figure out the best way to do it, and you work towards it until you earn it. But, like he says, you go and earn it, you earn it. It don't matter if you're 32 miles an hour with a V8 running on 2 cylinders. You earned it. So
yeah, and unfortunately, we didn't get to a couple of pictures, but I wanted to pop this one up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's one of the first renditions of it when it was the Hot Rod Magazine special. I can't remember what class that was in. Obviously, it's blown, but as he said, the letter designated at the beginning of the classification represents the engine size. AA is unlimited, A is smaller, B smaller, et cetera, and then you'll have the fuel, which would be gas or fuel, and fuel typically, if I remember correctly, is nitrous oxide, nitromethane, I think alcohol, and then blown or unblown is the next designation. So that's clearly blown, and then it goes into alters or competition coupes or different things like that. I don't know exactly which classification that was in. It was probably B blown, competition alter or something like that. But anyway, after that, in some of the later renditions, it had Pro Chargers on it. After the big blower setup, and then it had Pro Chargers on it. It had small blocks with Pro Chargers, big blocks of Pro Chargers. He had small blocks, as you heard, with nitrous. And we've seen all kinds of combinations, twin turboed. There's a couple of them on fuel, on nitro. Not saying that Keith's run nitro or anything, but you'll see everything out there. It is crazy, and that's something that really draws me to it. Is literally there is a class for about anybody.
Yeah,
but he's right. He's right. You need to start with a rule book and then work your way back. It's like that's his Camaro in the back, and that's his wife Tanya, and that's their modified sport. I want to say it started life as a Triumph, and it runs in the sports car classification. You see that on the side. CCMS is C, competition modified sport. And I think what that is basically from the firewall forward, you can do whatever you want, meaning stretch the nose and all that stuff. But there's a certain part of the body that has to be an import style car, something like that. But it's still, I know there's a lot of classifications and stuff, but it's still fascinating when you just hear how fast they go. And, people think, oh, you just, throw big twin turbos on a big old LS. And,
right.
You're going to go out there and you're going to go, 300 miles an hour. That's not the case. That is not the case. Because I think to go up for every 100 miles an hour you want to increase, you have to quadruple your horsepower, something like that. Or maybe it's every 20 miles an hour. It's something like that. But you exponentially, once you reach a certain point, it takes tremendous more power to overcome this. So Hence, aerodynamics becomes more important. Ratio becomes more important. And like he said, they use weight for traction because they don't hang big spoilers and all that stuff on them. If they do, they're very, very flat with very, very minimum downforce because that's drag. Everything on those cars is literally built for speed. Tires, 90 pounds of air with a 2-inch contact patch or whatever it is, or something like that. It's crazy. And trying to hook up on salt or a dry lake bed being dirt, you know what I mean, with no treads, no nothing. I mean, yeah, it's real hard. Yeah. It's real hard. So that's the challenge of it for sure. But I one day I want to go, and I would love one day to even participate. But
we'll just have to look next year. Maybe we can fly out that way and get us a ride. And
hey, I'd be happy starting off going to the East Coast Timing Association, one of those events, being on pavement and stuff like that. Covering one of those events to start with. You know, I mean, I'm happy with that. But I mean, there's so much that you and I want to do, Mitchell, but there's only so many hours in a day and so many PTOs we can take off.
Very true.
You know, we're squirming now to try to do some events we want to do. And everybody, we want to tell you again thank you for following us here on the Spot Motorsports Media and coming in tonight and listen to this great interview with Keith Turk. And like I said, we told you to stick around because we would have some people with different racing backgrounds, and he's just another one. I mean, so far we've had drag racing, we've now had land speed racing, we've had dirt car racing, we've had motorcycle racing, and and circle track racing, dirt racing, brawny with the pavement. So we're covering many different avenues, but we also want to thank our our partners that we work with, Redline Oil and Scorpion Racing Products, right there, loud and proud. And also want to tell you for continuing, thank you for joining us and subscribing and following us on Facebook, YouTube. We ask everybody, if you have not subscribed on YouTube, please go over there and do that. And also for Spotify is slow but gradually moving up, and also Instagram. All these platforms, everything that y'all can do to support us on those platforms helps us. And we're, like Mitchell said, we're gradually growing.
Yep. And one thing, as we're ending the show tonight, we want to send our condolences to the Minor family. Yep. Larry Minor passed away yesterday, and what a great guy he was for not just drag racing, but also off-road racing. And he was a winner of the Baja 1000, and he's in the Hall of Fame in both platforms. But just all-around great guy, and a lot of history with him and what he done for both sports.
Absolutely. And also, Mitchell, I know you agree, we want to give a shout-out to our buddy Derek Putnam. Happy birthday, buddy. It's your birthday today. You probably just want to curl up and go to sleep. As much work as you do.
He's probably still a little tired from Sixth Summer.
Oh yeah. But you're a great guy. You work hard, and you do an excellent job of what you do. So we appreciate everything, buddy, and we just wish you all the best and safety and all the best for you and your family.
Yeah, and just real quick, don't know if we're going to be rained out or not, but we are supposed to live stream the Scorpion Racing Products ET Series at Gainesville Raceway this Saturday and Sunday. But the chances of rain keep on going up. So if it does get canceled, we will put something out that there will be no live streaming of the races this weekend due to the weather. And then we'll be back to live streaming races at Gainesville in September. And we will be doing the Fall Brawl with Rob Reynolds and Tim Goolsby. So we're going to provide the live streaming for that race. So we're very happy about that, and really appreciate them thinking of us and inviting us back to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we appreciate Rob Reynolds and everything that he does between his speed shop, his engine shop, Speed Coast or Space Coast, and also for him putting on the Fall Brawl like he does there at Gainesville Raceway. We appreciate it. Now, also want everybody to tune in. Mitchell's going to keep you up to date as the information comes in for the JEGS Sports Nationals.
Yes.
At South Georgia Motorsports Park. That's happening not this weekend, or not this week, but the following week. Not this week coming, but the following week. And it's a double header. The first 2 days is the Sports Nationals, where they have class runoffs and eliminations and everything in sportsman classes. And then it picks up, I think on Friday, it picks up for the regular Lucas Oil points race. So if you get a chance to go, and stick around, you're going to see a lot of racing.
And I tell you, it's something. Raul done something really great for the crews and stuff. He's got a place where you can walk through, and you can kind of cool off.
Yes,
and it's got a misting thing set up there for people to walk through to kind of get you cooled off out of the sun. I thought that was a really great idea that they put that in, and I know a lot of people will be using it during that event. But yes, and of course we've got the Peach Nationals coming up as well in the near future, and we're looking forward to going up for that. And it's a great opportunity for people who's never experienced going to an NHRA racing event. They're going to have a couple of funny cars there, Top Fuel cars, Pro Stock and Pro Stock motorcycle, to kind of get you more interested in it, and hopefully it'll grab a hold of you, and you'll come down to the Gator Nationals. We don't know what the future holds. Shoot, South Georgia Motorsports Park in the near future, maybe they'll get a national event. Mm-hmm. So, but we're really excited about that. And I tell you, me and Robert, we appreciate you watching. And till next time, everyone, take care.
Till next time, everybody, have a good night. Thank you.
Reliability to drive thousands of miles. Confidence for those who fly high. Redline oil products give you the power to crush the competition. And a track record of being the best. Redline oil products. You push it to the limit, we'll protect it.
Ready to take your engine to the next level? Scorpion Racing Products delivers precision-engineered, high-performance rocker arms that dominate the track. 100% CNC machined in the USA with aerospace-grade aluminum for unmatched strength and durability. Our rocker arms handle extreme conditions with multiple ratios available to fit your needs. Backed by our exclusive lifetime warranty. When performance matters, choose Scorpion Racing Products. Proven, reliable, unstoppable.